And I think, we live in a world today where when people get a little bit more money or a tax refund, they buy a big screen TV. And when the TV they've got is good enough, and it's a materialistic world we live in, and it's about what you own, and that doesn't make you happy. And I've had people in my family that have had amazing paying jobs, and when they come down to die, they don't have a penny to their name because they never understood how to manage money, and they always spend above their means. And I've had to sit even some of my own kids down and shred the credit cards and downsize their life, and find ways to remove expenses and that, and simplify their life, and get rid of the things that you don't really need, and move to a smaller place, get rid of the car and the associated payments, and use public transport. All these things that when you put them together, they save a little bit of money here and there, and you put that money away. And if you look at the wonders of the world, people always say the eighth wonder of the world is the miracle of compounding interest. The longer you have to put money away, the more it's worth. And there's all those tables that you can calculate and you put in. If you can save £100 a month and you start in your 20s, you'll have £1 million when you're in your 50s. But you got to be consistent. You got to always pay yourself first, and you can't stop it. And you can't say, okay, I'm going to stop making this for the next year because I want to do something else. You pay yourself first, and you let the miracle of compounding. And there isn't a young person in the UK today working full time that can't find £100 a month. And I've had talks with young people living in London who say it's so expensive and I can't afford it. And then you interview them for a minute and you say, okay, and you find they're in the pub 4 days a week. And so you expect me to cry that you can't find £100 when you're in the pub 4 days a week? I mean, how much is a pint? So if you're drinking 4 pints a night, 5 pints a night, how much are you spending? I mean, you have to give these things up. You have to give these things. This is again some of the value system that we have with certain segments of the young population today are scary. They think they can have it all. They think you can have a great job, you can have a family, you don't have to work hard, you'll be home at 5 every day, and you have all the money you want. It doesn't work like that. And if you want to save money, you have to say no to things. And you have to buy the used car instead of the new car. You have to stay with the old TV instead of constantly upgrading. Instead of every time Apple comes out with a new iPhone and you upgrade and pay money because you want to show off to your friends, you have to stay with the old. I'm still using a BlackBerry. I mean, nobody uses a BlackBerry, but I refuse to go out and keep buying stuff. And and you find that the people that are the most frugal are the ones that are the most wealthy. Think poor to get rich. Act poor to get rich. That's the way you get rich. You don't get rich by making more. You get rich by saving. And if there's anything that Chinese businessmen here in Asia have taught me, it's frugality. I mean, the richest men in the Philippines, billionaires, these guys use BlackBerry phones. They drive old cars. They wear old clothes. They don't flash their wealth. They basically save money. And, I was amazed a few years ago. I flew to the U.S. with one of the richest men in the world, and he was back in economy on a trans-Pacific flight. And, and he said, why should I fly business class? It's too expensive. And the guy's got multi-billion dollars. But that's why he's got a multi-billion dollars, because he doesn't waste it and blow it. And that's what you see way too much of is people, they blow their money and they don't know, they don't know where it goes. And I think that's what these people have to do. If you can only save £50 a month, do it. 50 becomes 100, becomes 150, and then it's earning interest. And then it goes and goes and goes, and you just stick with it.
Wow. It surely comes to mind the fact that sometimes people are focusing on what they don't have, and with that comes a lack of desire to be more. And it all comes down to your environment, to the friends you are associated with what you want from life. And I wonder, in terms of time and energy, What are you investing your time and energy those days?
Well, obviously, I'm a big believer in the 5-fingered roles theory, which is you can only do 5 roles in your life well, or the number that you can count on one hand. And so, obviously one of my roles is running, the CEO of my company that I run here in the Philippines, BAT, because that pays the bills and that, provides for my family. Being a husband is clearly one of my top 5 roles. Being a father is clearly one of my top 5 roles. And then you get into, one role is investing in myself, which is, my personal fitness and my personal health through diet, through exercise, through taking care of myself so that I'm able to do my other roles well. And the last thing that I do is, I'm trying to give back to the Philippine society. And there's many ways you can give back. Sometimes it's teaching. Sometimes it's doing a corporate social responsibility project. But right now it's investing in the athletics program of the country because I believe, like many countries do, that sports can empower a nation. Certainly the British government believed that in 2012, that by doing well in the 2012 Olympics, it would lift the spirits and lift the nation in intangible ways. And they invested a record sum of money in their athletes and had a record medal haul. And if you look at the economy of the UK post-Olympics, it was quite good because there's very clear data that sports can build a nation. The Chinese did the same in 2008 Beijing. They invested $60 billion in facilities and training to have a successful Olympic Games and to build the nation. So I believe in sports as one of those tools to build a country, and it's something that I have previous history in. So I have been coaching the national team here in track and field and preparing them for the Olympic Games in Rio of 2016, and also helping them get the financing to enable world-class training programs, which is so necessary in this day and age. So that's been my fun passion and joy for the past several months. Once I finished my teaching semester, and when I start back teaching in January, then that will go back into it. But I always try to have one big project in my life outside of those other 4 roles that keeps me busy and brings joy and brings passion in my life. And right now that would be coaching and working with our national athletes to help them do all they can do on the international stage and make the Filipino people proud.
Jim, why you choose the Philippines? What is that makes you so dedicated? What makes you to give some more? Because you are talking about giving back, but to me, is you are giving with no reason. And I noticed that total unlimited passion in your voice, in your actions, everything you do. You are so passionate about giving with no reason. So why the Philippines?
Well, I didn't choose the Philippines initially. I was asked to come here by my employer, Procter & Gamble at the time, and to be the CEO here, and I accepted. And I believe if you take a job, you do the job. What I can't stand is when people take a job and then they complain about it. And, one time I went into a Taco Bell in the U.S., and I go up and I order a couple of tacos and a Coke, and the girl is like smacking her gum and won't even look at me and says, she doesn't say, "Can I take your order?" She says, "What do you want?" And, and when she brings my food, she like throws it down on the counter in front of me and where the Coke spills. And at that point I said, "Have I done something?" And she says to me, smacking her gum, she says, "They don't pay me enough to be nice to you." And I just let it rip. And I said, "Excuse me, is this a communist country where the government has told you what job you're going to do?" Because I worked in post-communist Eastern Europe. It was terrible. The government would come and tell you, Marina, you're going to be a taxi driver. I mean, you know this is better than anyone coming from Romania. You know, your fate was dictated by the state. And you know, and she says no. And I said, so did anybody put a gun to your head to work at Taco Bell? No. Did you take this job of your own free will? Yes. And I said, you know what? Then I got a piece of advice for you. If you took this job, do the damn job. And if you don't like it, then quit. But don't you dare take it out on me. I mean, you know, if you take a job, you do it and you do it with a smile. If you don't like it, then get out and do something else. But don't sit there and sit in it and make everybody else pay for it. I mean, make a damn decision. You control your life, so you make the decisions in life. And that, you know, I took a job in the Philippines. If I'm here, there's no worse expat than somebody who moves to a country and then they complain about it. Then don't move there, because it's an insult to everyone who lives there. You come in as a guest. It's like someone coming into your house, Marina, and then sitting down on your couch and looking around and saying, Marina, you know, your paintings are really crap. Marina, your interior design is terrible. This couch is pathetic. You should sell it. You know, you would basically at some point say, excuse me, why don't you just leave? I mean, why are you in my house if you don't like anything? And I think when I go to a country, I try to see the good in the country. I don't sit there and trash it. And, you know, and that's the thing that bothers me about expats sometimes. They're incredibly callous to the locals and to their country. This is someone's nation. You're a guest. Behave and act like a guest. When I was in Nigeria, I coached the national team there for the London Olympics and marathon. I threw myself in it. I built schools. I love Nigeria. And you give back to the Nigerian people who are great people. One of the saddest things in my life is the bad reputation that country has when some of the finest people I know are Nigerian. You know, it's sad. It's sad that the only thing you hear about Nigeria is internet scams and Boko Haram and bombings in a church and all this kind of. It's a wonderful country with wonderful people. Yes, there are bad people, but there are bad people everywhere. I now live in the Philippines. While I'm here, and this is a wonderful country with great people, I will pour myself into leaving a positive impression on this country because it's not mine. I'm a visitor, and I'm trying to be a good visitor and a responsible visitor and leave a positive impact on the nation. And these are wonderful people. You know, Filipinos, as anyone who's ever spent any time here would tell you, it's the most happiest, hospitable people that you're ever going to meet.
I recently came from a tour in Asia, and finally I could understand what you are telling us about Asian people. And what I realized is that they use the same word for mind and heart. And what is that journey? Because you are such a incredible, powerful, heartfelt mission all the time. You are a man with a mission. And what is that 18-inch journey from your mind to your heart? How is that affecting your actions, your beliefs, and your emotions?
Well, I think every person is skewed either heart or head in how they approach the world. I'm definitely a heart-based person where I have to forcibly bring my head into it. I mean, the number of times that I have overreacted on an emotional level, either positively or negatively, to a situation is far too numerous to mention. I mean, it's a hard thing to get a handle on. My greatest strength, like most people in life, your greatest strength is your greatest weakness. And, you know, my greatest strength is my passion and emotion, and my greatest weakness is my emotion. Fortunately, there's enough head in it that I'm able to control it to a certain level. I mean, I've never had, the melt. If I have a temper fit, I might just yell. I don't hit people, and I don't get crazy. If I'm angry, I still control it to a certain point. But so, there's some people that their emotions completely rule to the point that they let it run all the way to its conclusion. I don't do that. But every one of us has to, first of all, assess, are we heart people or head people? I like heart people because heart can be toned down.